Waiting for it to connect. Hey. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the HypnoSummit Monday live stream. I am your host, Michele Rosenthal, co-host of HypnoSummit and the community manager here on Facebook. And today we are talking about hypnosis for athletes. And for that, I went to the source. One of our HypnoSummit presenters, Karen Bird, is the pro on this. And today we're diving deep into what it means about how to use hypnosis for athletes. So start forming your questions. Here we go. All right, Karen, welcome. I am so excited to have you here. I know you personally, so I can vouch for what an extraordinary person you are. And what I'm excited about today is introducing you to our Facebook community in a really personal way to talk about how to use hypnosis for athletes. So first I want to welcome you and remind all of you who are here with us on Facebook. If you've been with us before, you know I multitask during these live streams so that I'm in the Facebook with you and we're here with Karen at the same time. So start dropping your comments and questions in the comment stream on Facebook. I will be taking your questions live so we get your answers in real time. So first, Karen, just give us sort of an overview. You've been a hypnotherapist or hypnotist. What do you like to call yourself? Give us an overview of what you've been doing.
To be honest, I've been in this field for 16 years and I still flip-flop back and forth because in Wisconsin, we know in the different states, right? Some people can't call themselves hypnotherapists. Sometimes I'm a hypnotherapist for my clients and other times I'm a sports hypnotist. So whatever you call me is perfectly okay.
Nice. Okay. And I'm super sensitive because I am in one of those states where you are not allowed to call yourself a hypnotherapist. So I'm always saying hypnotist. But I actually, the language is interchangeable. So start off, getting into a sports niche is very particular. It's not like you rolled out of bed one morning when you were 16 and decided, I want to grow up and be a sports hypnotist, or did you? How did you get there?
Yes, great question. I got there because of, as you know, we are all here in this industry, what I'm learning or in this field, some people don't call it industry, because of our own experiences. And I am trained, I have my major in college is psychology. I always wanted to be a psychotherapist. And yet I ended up in the marketing field for many years and went from teaching, actually, here's an interesting thing. I did teach premarital sexual abstinence to high schoolers for a while from a county program. And I moved to that into marketing. And then was going to school for my master's in social work. And then became an at-home mom for many, many years, fostered a few girls. And in the meantime, with our third child, learned about hypnobirthing, which we know is using self-hypnosis to birth a child. Became a practitioner there. And then from there, actually, it was my mom that encouraged me to become certified as a hypnotherapist, hypnotist. And I realized after teaching hypnobirthing, the power of the mind, and how my belief was that if we could get ourselves into a quiet, self-hypnotic state and move through contractions, or we call them surges in hypnobirthing, in a calm way and birth a baby without uttering a sound in a calm state, then we could use hypnosis for anything in our life, right? Yeah. So I went from there to then becoming certified as a hypnotist and was part-time for many, many years. As we all know, especially for me, we didn't have these groups. We didn't have Facebook. Connection was a little more difficult. It took me a long time to establish my business. It was part-time for a very long time. I definitely have to say, if I were to start out today, I feel like our businesses can take off in a matter of months. As soon as we develop, and this is all about self-belief, right? As soon as we develop the confidence and believe in ourselves and believe that what we're offering is a gift to others, our business just takes off. Right?
That's such an interesting point. And you teach hypnotherapists how to build their business. So we should call that out here now, because you're offering insight, and it's not just a personal philosophy or an idea. It's also a professional approach to what you do and how you do it and how you help others do it.
Yes.
So I love hearing that, because I think you're right. The mindset is so important. So what helped you sort of establish that confidence to really build a thriving business? And then, did you build the business first and then come into the sports focus, or did you have the sports focus first and then build the business?
I built the business first because just like my book, which is on my website and it's free, the ebook, and it's called Hypnosis Niche, the power of niching or niching for a profitable and successful business. I, like everyone else, I worked with athletes. I was successful with athletes. I had a great clientele of athletes, yet I was not ready to embrace for probably 8 to 10 years, embrace a niche, embrace that I was a performance mindset expert, embrace that I was a sports hypnosis expert. So I was a generalist hypnotist, like my book says, and I go through why it's so important to claim your niche. But for so long, I was a generalist hypnotist and would see clients here and there. Yet when I started and I wrote the book, Attitude of a Champion, it's actually my manual that I offer when I train.
Nice.
When I wrote that, oh, go ahead.
Just while we're here, which website is that on, so that I can just drop that in the notes in the comments?
That is on the KarenBird.com. So there's
Okay.
my
All right.
name.com website.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Yep.
you.
So what I did was I wrote the book because what I had learned, and actually was at a Heartland Hypnosis conference. Helen Midas from Australia, who's a good friend of mine, said, "Why aren't you teaching this to others? You have a proven system, a proven program, exactly what you do with athletes. You're successful with them. Why aren't you teaching others what you do?" And it was that little spark, right? Sometimes we just need that little spark. It was that little spark that encouraged me then to write the manual, the training guide in how to work with athletes. And at that point, I was like, duh, light bulb went off. Anyone could have told me this a million times, right? Duh, become an expert in what you're doing and get the world to know that you are a sports hypnotist or a performance mindset expert. And the clients come because the referrals come. It doesn't mean you can only see that niche. It just means that people find you. And that's what my book. So my book on KarenBird.com is called Hypnosis Niche. There's a link on top that says ebook. And there's a free ebook there, which you're more than welcome to download and read. And it'll help you get a little bit clarification on the importance of niching.
So, Karen, then you built your business as a generalist, and then there's just so many different ways to go with this conversation. But I want to stick to what we agreed to, which is the
Of
hypnosis for
course.
athletes. And then,
Yes,
if you all have questions, Facebook group, if you have questions about building your business, feel free to put them in the comments. Karen and I will take all questions. But
absolutely.
first, let's make sure that we stay true to our topic today. So how did you go from that generalist into the sports hypnosis, and how did you, and you know what, maybe I'm asking too narrow a question, because you said in your general practice you were already working with athletes. So what gave you the confidence to work with them, and what was your approach?
So that's a great question. But again, life experience, like I started with, is I had married a collegiate wrestler. I always thought I was going to have boys and girls. Of course, I had my life all planned out. I was going to have one boy and one girl. And ended up having three boys. And all of my boys, of course, because daddy was a wrestler and a coach, ended up being wrestlers. And as I was in my practice seeing general clients, I was seeing many, many athletes based on my life experience and what I had learned as, being married to a collegiate athlete, a high level athlete, and then having three boys that started wrestling the moment they could walk because that's what they did. They would go with dad and our oldest son ended up being an amazing athlete, national champ, on the top three for Olympian list. two-time state champs. So I learned from life experience. I was seeing many athletes because of my knowledge in it, my life experience. I had asked my son, he brought back manuals from the Olympic Training Center, psychology manuals, sports psychology. So I had the resources, I had the experience. I knew the importance of mindset. I knew the importance of being confident and how confidence really creates our reality, right? Or what we believe creates a reality. We know that as hypnotists. And so, as I started writing that manual, some things happened with our oldest son, who was away at college on a full scholarship. And he ended up leaving college, going to Florida without us knowing. It was quite a traumatic experience for us. And I had the manual written, and I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing? Why am I not? So I'm already seeing athletes. I'm already a sports hypnotist. Why am I not out there on Google and showing the world the power of using hypnosis for confidence, for peak performance? And it was just a matter of shifting my way of presenting myself. How do I show up? Presenting, I'm now showing up as a sports hypnotist, although I always saw clients. So that was kind of my shift, is do it.
Yeah, and get really specific about that. Rhonda, I see your question. I'm on it. I just want to finish where we are right now. Describe that, because it sounds really easy, but I know there had to be steps in that shift. So what was that shift really? What did it look like on the inside, behind the scenes?
The shift from being a generalist hypnotist to a sports hypnotist.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gosh. You know what? That was stepping into my power. That was affirmations. That was everything we teach our clients. That was writing post-it notes and putting them on my desk. I am a sports hypnotist. I am a performance mindset expert. I help athletes find their confidence, believe in themselves, reach their peak performance. All of these things that I did, that was written in my manual. And like you said, it was embracing it. And then, what had happened was, at that point, I had my manual written and I decided to hire a book coach, because I thought, okay, now I have this, and how do I get it out to the world? How do I step into that person? How do I embody that? And I hired a book coach, and that's when we wrote the book. He coached me through writing the book, Hypnosis. And I think that's where the shift came in. Is, I don't know about the rest of you, but I got to a place in my life where I had hired him and invested $6,000 to me. Investing in ourselves creates shifts. Our why is important. And I said to myself, I just paid $6,000 for a book coach. God darn it, I'm going to make this work. And I think that's how it is, right? With our lives, like, we invest in an office, or we invest in this $5,000 program, or we go to this conference and spend all this money. At some point, we get to say, okay, this isn't a hobby anymore. I'm not playing around.
Mm-hmm.
And now I made the investment, and God darn it, I'm going to make it work. That's where my shift came.
I love that. I'm so glad I asked you that question, because it was not a technical shift. It was not a marketing shift. It was an internal shift.
Mhm.
And this is a good time to remind, for those of you who are HypnoSummit full experience badge owners, have you watched Karen's presentation? Because she is a HypnoSummit presenter, and she talks about all of this process, the technicalities of it in depth, about how to do this. So if you like what you're hearing in terms of how you make this shift and how you build a bigger practice, definitely hop into your dashboard and check that out. So okay, so Rhonda and Alex, great question. So I just want Karen to finish her story to bring us into the athlete hypno niche, and then we're going to dive into your questions. So just know I'm on your questions. I just want to finish laying the groundwork and the foundation so that we really have the right context. Okay, so you make that mindset shift. You hire a coach to help you write this book. You really step into the fullness of who you are. And then what happens?
And then I have a book, and it's called Hypnosis. And I offer it, like I said, it's a free offering. To me, it was about focusing out. And what I've learned is, when we focus out and we give, the universe sends it back. So I decided that instead of marketing this and charging for the book, I was going to give it as a give. And then I got to the space of now what? And what I've learned, and my program is structured under being a business coach and teaching sports hypnosis, because what I learned is that I can hire a coach and I can get where I want to get. This was my mindset. I can get where I want to get because I know what my mission is, and that is to teach the entire world about sports hypnosis and as many athletes as I can reach. And I can't do it on my own. And so, how do I do that? I empower others to do what I'm doing. And I thought, okay, I can do that. It's going to take me probably 5 years as I learn and grow, or I can hire a coach and do it in a year. This was my mindset. So I hired a coach, and there's a little bit of sticker shock at first, yet I'll tell you it's worth every penny. And within a year, I had every single one of my goals reached. I had a thriving practice. I was now a sports for performance mindset coach. I was on Google and I was known in the whole tri-state area, Chicago, all of our, our regional area as the leading performance mindset expert. And that's where that shift came, is when I hired a coach. I knew where I wanted to go, yet I didn't have the resources, the knowledge, and the experience that I wanted to in order to reach everyone. So I embraced it, and I'll tell you now, that's what I'm known as.
That is awesome. Okay, so now let's start diving into, thank you, Rhonda. I appreciate that follow-up comment. Let's dive into now, do you have a replicable approach, a theory of how to work with athletes that's different than how you worked with your generalist practice? Speak to that, because when we get to the questions that are coming in the Facebook group, I want to build on that foundation so that people start to understand, well, what does it really mean to niche or niche? Jason Linett always says it's niche because
To be rich.
however you want to say it. What's different about being a sports hypnotist than anything else?
It is quite different. And because I see clients for the whole gamut, right? All of these things that we see clients for, because one finds out about you, and do you see us for weight loss and smoking and phobias and sadness, let's say sadness. So because I see clients for everything, it is definitely a different approach. And because I've been in this field for so long, I know how to do EFT and tapping and timeline and all of those things. Although the difference is when I see a client that comes in for sadness or phobias, it's a very different approach, because with athletes, it is what I've created is a 4-session program that is mindset, that is peak performance, mental training techniques, and how I market it. And it is the truth, because athletes don't come in saying, I'm into hypnosis and I'm kind of into the woo-woo thing. And, they come in because they want to be better at their sport, bottom line, and they will do anything to be better. They put in thousands and thousands and thousands of hours on physical training. Now they want to know what I can do to help them to reach that next step using their mind, right? So it is a step-by-step program. I offer 4 sessions. I'm more than happy to give you the outline of them so we can go through that if we have time. But the 4 sessions with the added benefit of hypnosis. That's how I market it. That's how we work with it. And that's truly what it is, because we go through things like carrying yourself like a champion and how that gives you the mental edge. What is the mental edge? How do you get into the zone? What does it feel like the last time you were in the zone? So we create pictures, we use visualizations, all mindset training techniques that the sports psychology manual from the Olympic Training Center uses, sports psychologists use, champions use, Olympians use, the mindset techniques. But what we get to do is we get to really solidify it with audios and reframes back in the subconscious, so they can create in their mind that blueprint of their perfect game. So we've got the 2 pieces. And I have heard time and time and time again, I've seen a sports psychologist and this is what we worked on, but this is even more powerful. So that's
awesome. I want to just take a question from the Facebook group from Christian B, who asks, I would be keen to learn what programs would look like in this space. So let's flesh this out a little bit. It's 4 sessions, it's mindset, and then do you use the hypnosis to sort of deepen and expand that mindset process?
Yes, absolutely. Our first session, when I speak to a perspective, whether it's an athlete or an athlete's parent, because my micro niche is youth, high school, and some in collegiate. The reason is because they are great referrers. They are working hard, and their parents are amazing buyers. And I like seeing the shift of the younger kids. The pro athletes, they don't like to tell people that they're seeing a hypnotist. And so it's a harder market for me. I enjoy the youth and the high school. So what I do is I sell the 4-session program. And
just a second, in the 4 sessions, just because I know somebody's going to ask me this, how long are the sessions?
They're an hour long. Okay. And sometimes I leave a little bit more, but I'll tell you, I've been doing this long enough that because it is such a streamlined process, it is almost to the T, between 45 minutes and an hour. So the first session is typically an hour. The next ones, I tell them it'll be 45 minutes to an hour. It's about that. Sometimes I'll have an athlete that is very quiet and I'm just teaching. And so maybe it's a 50-minute session. Yet I can always make the hypnosis a little longer so that they feel, like they got the value. So yes, an hour session. They are typically a week apart. And it is I tell them it's about a month-long program, yet it may be a little longer if we can't fit your sessions in once a week. That's okay. There are tasks in between. So the first session is really developing their mindset, mental toughness program. I talk to them about hypnosis, how it works for sports, what are the 5 mental tools. I ask questions, we write statements, we go through goals. And all of this is taught in my course in much more detail. But that first session is truly an intake and a creating their personalized mental toughness training program. And then the second session, we do deep hypnosis. We do, they get to feel it. The first session is some visualization and relaxation. I'm now getting them comfortable with me, my office, being in a relaxed state, not hypnosis though. So this is kind of how I work it with them. Second session, deeper hypnosis, create an audio for them, which then I say, I help them say this solidifies it. You listen to it when you fall asleep at night. Similar to what my hypnobirthing program was. We had an audio that we listened to every night as we fell asleep. And then the second or the third and fourth session are doing things like the circle of excellence, which is NLP, creating visualizations for them, speaking about their athlete, their goals and statements that we set, teaching them self-hypnosis. By the fourth session, I'm now teaching self-hypnosis so that they can use what I taught them and use it for the rest of their lives, and then bring in everything that we've worked on in the last 3 sessions. So that's a bit about how the program runs. Did that answer your question?
Yeah. I think it's really interesting. And I was thinking as I was listening to you, so the first session, there's no hypnosis. It's really about rapport building. And then the second session is when you actually do hypnosis, and the third session and the fourth session, do you do hypnosis and teach them self-hypnosis, or you're just teaching?
Both. And you know what I've learned in all of these years, and it probably took me quite a while to do this, is we know that we can get shifts in our clients by speaking. We know that we can get shifts with NLP and language, yet many of our clients came to us because they want to feel the magic, the power of hypnosis. It's mystical. They don't know what it is. And I remember the first time I experienced hypnosis, and I had a degree in psychology, and there was about 2 paragraphs in the entire learnings that I did about hypnosis. Yet the first time I really experienced it in my hypnobirthing classes, I was like, that was amazing. I don't know if you remember the first time you were hypnotized.
I do. I thought it was a bunch of junk.
Right? Right?
And I was shocked that how well it worked, because
Yes.
I spent the whole time in my head criticizing what the hypnotherapist was doing, and then I
Yes.
couldn't believe the benefits of it. So
Yes.
I do remember.
I love it. Have you had that client come in? Like I had a weight loss client, and tell me if you've had this client that comes in and sits down and says, I just don't know if hypnosis works. I'm really questioning it. Okay, well, so how are you doing with your goals and your tasks? Well, I've lost 15 pounds. I can't quite understand why. It's like,
I did. So I work with trauma, and actually my client after this is a woman who, when we started, she was dealing with a lot of trauma, and there was an ongoing situation, and she was terrified to bump into somebody. And after our first session, the next week, she came back. She said, "Well, I bumped into him, and I really felt nothing. I was totally fine, but I really don't think it's due to the work that we're doing." I was like, "Okay." She said, "I'm just more comfortable in myself. I've decided how to handle him." And I think whatever they need to believe, I'm happy for them to think that they've made the shift, right?
yes.
Because that's about them becoming more powerful instead
Mhm.
of powerless. And I think that applies to all of us, whatever our niche is.
You're
So,
so right. Yeah.
but that's a neat thing to call out. Let me
Yeah.
ask you this, because two questions about working with athletes. Number one, Circle of Excellence is awesome, and for those of you who don't really know the Circle of Excellence, maybe you'll explain it a little bit. That's a very powerful process in person. How
Mhm.
have you adapted, if at all, to COVID? Are you doing more sessions online, and how have you changed the way that you work with athletes to do that?
Mhm. Great question. I work with athletes on online on Zoom the exact same way that I work with them in my office. However, being in Wisconsin, we are pretty open. So most of my clients and athletes choose to come into my office, which is fine with me because I'm I'm a very connected person. I like the connection and to be one-on-one. So I prefer to have them in my office. Yet I didn't work with many athletes online over Zoom unless they were from like 5, 6 hours away. I would, before COVID, I would have them come in for the first session so we could establish rapport. And then I would say, you know what, you're 5, 6 hours away. We can do it on Zoom. It's just as effective. But since COVID, obviously, we went through the time where we couldn't have others in our office. I then started to do many sessions online. So I give them a choice. And it's a very similar process. Circle of Excellence, to me, it's not a whole lot different. I don't have them get up and step into a circle even when they are in my office. And so I just make sure online we have all those safeguards and they're relaxed. And I use the same exact process, the same program, same strategies with all of my clients, whether they're in person or online. Mhm.
Perfect. Okay. And then one last question for me, just to round this out, and then it's like we're backed up at LAX with questions in the
Okay.
Facebook group. So we're gonna hop in there. But
Love
here's
it.
my last question about the program, just so we sort of round it out. It's 4 weeks. Now, is that because every athlete comes in wanting to work on one thing? What happens after 4 weeks if
Mm.
there's something else?
Okay. So in 4 weeks, I have, like I said, a established program that hits all of the spots that they could come in for. I would say a majority of them are help me be better, give me more, help me find my confidence, help me reach my peak performance, help me believe in myself again, help me find joy in my sport again. I'm not enjoying it anymore. There's so much pressure. That's the majority. Yet, what I teach and the program that I teach and what I work with other athletes on sometimes are overcoming an injury or coming in because they have a mental block. Maybe they have the yips and they're a pitcher, or they can't perform their balance beam routine anymore. They fell off the balance beam and they now can't, they're just like frightened, fight or flight. Maybe they play better than they practice and they want to play because they know they have the ability. They want to be able to play in games exactly like they do in practice. Those are all um, confronted and worked through in our 4 sessions that we do. Now, every now and then, I will have an athlete that wants to do more work. and we'll just add a session at the end of the program. And most of my athletes, most of them, which is why it's easy to build a successful and thriving business, is most of them will come back at the next season before a big performance or game or tournament, and the next following year when they want to reset their goals, when they want to have a refresher. And I typically say you don't have to come in for those 4 sessions that we did. You have the crux of it, you have the materials and all of the information. Yet 1 or 2 sessions will help you with, for me to refresh it, for us to go through your goals again. And, we all remember when we're in the middle of something, we're usually doing it harder. And as we fall away from it, we forget to do it. And so I'll say, we'll just do a refresher. And then my athletes typically will come back. Most of them, I have a following that just comes back every single year until they're finished with that sport. And then sometimes their parents come in for entrepreneurs, to be business training. Mhm.
I love that. You have such variety in your business that way, and stability and sustainability.
Yes.
So, okay. So, that actually, what you just said about athletes who have that fight or flight, like they're a little nervous, leads us right into Barbara Schaal. Barbara Schaal is one of our HypnoSummit presenters. She does
Mhm.
Hypno Kids. She's amazing with children and teens. Her
Yeah.
question is, how do you handle athletes who are blocked due to injury? Barbara, thank you for dropping that in the comments in the Facebook group. Karen, what's the answer?
Well, first I want to say hi, Barbara. How are you doing? It's so good to hear from you. Blocked due to injuries. All right. So a
Yeah.
lot of times an injury will be healed, yet it's holding them back because they're afraid to hurt it again, right? To be injured in that same space again. So what we do is we use visualizations, and I ask them, let's say, one example is I had a wrestler that had a separated shoulder. And that separated shoulder stopped him from going to regionals, which means he couldn't go through regionals, sectionals, and state. And it was a big blow to his ego. So not only was it an injury, it was an injury that stopped him from reaching a really big goal of his. And so what we did, and again, I make sure that they have been released from physical therapy. The doctor has released them that it's okay to go back to their sport. And if not, we just work through, let's get that injury to heal 100%. After it's healed, there is research done on this, but a lot of times there has been, because you've gone through physical therapy, it's actually stronger than it was before the injury. And how do we do that? We ask, what does that look like? So I will ask the athlete, what does your shoulder look like when it's really strong and stronger than the rest of your body? Is it made with steel? Is it flexible like rubber bands? What does that look like when you are, is it Superman strength? And they tell me, because what I've learned is using their language, speaking them to them the way that their visualizations come up are the most powerful. So we literally create a visualization of what does it look like when that shoulder is more powerful and stronger than it was. And then I put that into their hypnosis. So now they're thinking about it, they're creating it, and it takes away that block. Now, that's pretty much how to like believe in yourself again to get through the injury. I also use blocks when there's a block, whether it's from an injury or falling off the balance beam or having a few bad games. And that is, and I'm sure most of you know this technique. I use the technique where they visualize, what does that block look like? What is it? Is it a wall? Is it a door? Is it a wall of fire? Is it ice? What does it look like? I ask them questions, and this is under hypnosis, although we call it the waking hypnosis, the conversational hypnosis, where they are answering me. So I can get a feel for it to help them then through it. So we'll ask questions like, what does it look like? What does it feel like? How big is it? What temperature is it? And after establishing all of that, the 5 senses, then the question is, and how are you going to get over it, under it, or through it? Is it a tool? Is it a bowl of hot water on top of the ice? So how do we get through that block? Similar to what we use with all of our other clients. And amazingly, I have seen swimmers that have had panic attacks and constant panic attacks in the middle of a swim race, an event. And they'll say, I just stopped. I couldn't breathe anymore. And I had to get out of the pool because I thought I was having a heart attack.
Mhm.
It's that panic attack, fight or flight. And once we do this, if they start to feel it, they figure out what that block was. They visualize exactly what we talked about. How'd you get over, under, and through it? And it goes away like that. So hopefully that was helpful.
Yeah, that was great. That was great. I was working with a client last week who has a wall, and it's the wall that he's put up because of his traumas, the wall between him and the rest of the world. And we use that exact same technique. And as we went through it, he said to me, "You know what? The wall's gone. It's just gone." Because sometimes just asking them to identify the wall and be with the wall and recognize and acknowledge and describe it, just sometimes becoming that present with it just evaporates it. And he was able to see what was on the other side of the wall, which was really the problem, right? It's so interesting how this stuff works.
You're right. And not only so interesting to me is it is so simple,
Mm-hmm.
but we get to teach it. And the gift that we have to offer something so simple that is so profound and life-changing is amazing. And it feels good, doesn't it?
It does. It feels awesome. So let's keep going. Rhonda, this is your moment. And thank you so much for clarifying. Rhonda asks, Karen, tell us a specific example of a client athlete that had an impasse that you helped. What induction did you use? Tell us the trajectory of their particular improvement. And what she means by impasse is that confidence stops optimal capacity, for example.
Wow, that is a good question.
I
All
know.
right,
So let's take one piece at a time.
unpack
An
it.
example of a client athlete that had an impasse that you helped. So really, let's just break it down. Client with an impasse, induction, and trajectory of change.
Okay. Let's see. Let's talk about one of my weightlifters. There's so many. Okay, I'm going to pull out this one. He's a weightlifter. He was in his 20s. I probably saw him a few months ago. He actually, I think I remember this guy because he was such an amazing guy. And he, in the end, and I didn't know this, happened to be a friend of my oldest son, Josh's, and actually had wrestled with my oldest son, Josh, that is now in heaven. And so he was, I had a lot of, affection toward him, just not affection, but I enjoyed having him. So anyways, he was a weightlifter. And when he came into me, he said, I know all this mindset stuff and I practiced it. I know what self-hypnosis is. I know how important it is to believe in yourself, but I don't know how to do it. Someone needs to teach me how to do it. Great. That's my expertise. And one of the things he said in our first session as we were unpacking things is I used to, he was a very developed weightlifter. He was very good at what he did. He was a champion. He said, I used to feel when I was competing this tingling sensation that went through my body. And because I stopped believing myself and I had a couple bad tournaments or bad performances, I didn't feel that tingling anymore. And I want that tingling back. I said, great, simple, right? So, because block was, why can't I feel it? I know the tools and techniques, yet I can't do it. And what I've learned is that hypnosis, I practice self-hypnosis and I can get change because I know how to. But I've also found that when I use it with other hypnotists and hypnotherapists, whether I go to one or we trade services, being guided is 10 times more magical because our conscious mind isn't trying to come up with the questions and the solution at the same time that the subconscious, right? The higher self, the wisdom is coming up with the answers. So for me, that is why we are worth what we're worth, because although we can all do self-hypnosis, the guiding of an expert that knows what they're doing brings the biggest change. So for him, it was simply putting him into the relaxed state having him feel the feelings of as we went through. Go ahead.
Wait, hang on, because one of the specifics of Rhonda's question was what induction? So how did you put
Oh,
him into the relaxed state?
well, for this one in the change, it was just the first session. And in the first session, I do a quick relaxation for them. And then I have them describe what does their perfect event look like. The reason that I do that is I want to, like I said, I want to get their language. I want to know the ins and outs of what does it look like? What does it feel like when they are having their best lift, their best game? And so it was actually just during this relaxation that I did. And I had him feel again that tangling sensation. And I'll answer that induction in a minute. That tingling sensation from the top of his head to the bottom of his toes. I gave him a few minutes. I let him feel it, experience. I gave him some examples of what that would feel like. And so that was a quick relaxation. Relax your body from your head to your toes, take a deep breath, feel that zone of relaxation. And that's when he felt it. That's when he felt that major change. So he felt it and he opened his eyes and he said, that was amazing. I wasn't like super deep state, but I felt the tingling again for the first time in 6 months. And I'm so excited. And so that was kind of a block that we went through, right? It was just teach me. I know it, walk me through it. But to answer the question about the induction, when I work with athletes and a majority of my clients as it is, I use progressive relaxation. I love progressive relaxation. I feel like it's the easiest way for them to get out of their head and what I would say into their body, into the moment where they're relaxing each area. And then, of course, we use deepeners. And with every athlete, I don't do this with all my clients, but with athletes, I do a convincer where I have them lift one leg and then tell them to try to lift the other. But the harder they try, the heavier it is, as if there's a 100-pound weight on their leg. And they love it because they actually, when they come out, they're like, oh my gosh, I couldn't lift my leg. That is the craziest thing ever. Right. And for us, it's like, it's just the language that we're using. But so I typically use progressive relaxation on almost every athlete for that first session, especially.
How long? I mean, a lot of people don't like progressive muscle relaxation or they criticize it because it can take so long. So, do you have a time frame that you make sure, like, I only devote X number of minutes to PMR?
I do. I do. If I have time, I'll devote 10 minutes. If I don't have time, I will devote 5. There's so many ways you can simplify it.
Yeah.
And there are so many ways you can deepen it in between relaxing your cheeks and your jaws. And then as you relax your jaws, you feel a space between your teeth, and then going deeper or counting from 3 down to 1, doubling your relaxation on 2. So for me, you can do a progressive relaxation in a very short amount of time if you're deepening in between your zones or the areas of relaxation.
That is such a great point. Awesome. Okay. So let's round out that story. So after he got the tingle back, just to finish Rhonda's question, because she wanted to know the trajectory of their particular improvement. So do you have like a coda to that story, how he took that tingle and went back to the mat?
Sure. So we then put that into, that was just in his deep relaxation where I was taking copious notes about what does it look like in your perfect lift? What does that tingling sensation feel like? And then he went home. And my goal with every athlete, and actually every client, my goal, and I'm always working toward this, is when they leave after that first session, what I get is the hopefulness from the hopelessness. So what I want to hear, and this is my goal, and I don't always, but my goal is I cannot wait to come back. I'm so excited about this. This is exactly what I needed, right? So that's always my goal. He was one of those clients. And then for the next 3 sessions, I worked through that tingling sensation so we could really embody that tingling sensation. What did it look like when he stepped onto the stage and felt that tingling sensation? And I did that then during the deeper hypnosis in the second session, and then with the circle of excellence in the third, and then with his self hypnosis in the fourth. and worked on it as we went through. Yeah. Does that make sense of kind of what the trajectory is?
Yeah, Rhonda, I mean, I think that hits all the notes of your question. If it doesn't, drop another comment and I'll circle back. Let's move on now to Alex Paulino asks, any advice for hypnotherapists who want to work with professional tennis players?
Oh, well, I think when I think about professional tennis players, the same as I think about swimmers, track, pitchers, wrestlers, it's an individual sport. The individual sports, in my opinion, now this is just my opinion, are more mental because it's all you. And when I say more mental, it's about the athlete feels more pressure to perform. And again, it's a mindset thing because when you're on a team, you can always say it was my team or right. So the individuals is what I find. I see more individual athletes, they feel more pressure. When I think of a tennis player, it is like any other athlete. It is establishing confidence, writing affirmations and goals, asking what it would look like. What would they be doing differently if they were to play their perfect game, have their perfect match, and let them describe that to you. The other thing that I do with athletes, and this is a tip, is like, let's say I've never seen a tennis player and I don't know how to work with tennis players. I don't know what the game looks like, which I just took tennis lessons this summer. I'm so proud of myself. So now I know. So I literally just Google affirmations for tennis players. That way, when they come into my office, it takes like 2 minutes. I can either leave it on my computer or print it out. When they come into my office, I can ask them questions or help them formulate statements. If they aren't very verbal or articulate, I can help them formulate a statement of what does that perfect match look like. So I have perfect technique as I raise my hand and hit the ball. So I always have affirmations in front of me. I can help them formulate their statements and affirmations. Yet tennis players are like any other athlete. They just want that confidence. They want to believe in themselves. They want to know how to get into the zone, into the flow, what to do when they have a bad match, just like any other athlete. What do you do? When there's an uncontrollable? How do you shift out of it? How do you reset? Same thing. I hope that answered the question.
Great question. Great answer. Thank you. Zuzana Krajikova wants to know, I would like to become a hypno coach for athletes in the Czech Republic. Where can we learn how to do that?
Well, I have the perfect program.
I mean, I was thinking so. Zuzana, I
Right.
think you need to go to KarenBird.com and interact with Karen a little bit more. You can also find her on Facebook. Go ahead, Karen. What else would
Yes.
you say?
You can find me on Facebook. And if you go to KarenBird.com, which is just my name.com, there's a tab that says AOC program. If you sign up there, just give me your email and I will respond and send you a link and we can just get on a call and see if it's a fit for you. Because what I do want to say is that I do have limited spots because it is a business coaching program also. I coach you and hold your hand on exactly what I do, how to get athletes, how to reach them, the languaging. And so there is a fit, right? And I just want to make sure you're a fit before you dedicate your time, because the last thing that I want is for you to buy another program and walk away and say, I didn't finish it, it didn't work. When I work with other hypnotists and hypnotherapists, there are challenges and there are um, accountability. So I want to make sure that when you're done with my program, you are seeing athletes and you're doing a great job with it, because I want my name to be the name that says, yes, I can work with athletes and I champion working with athletes and I'm helping athletes. So hop on a call with me because I want to make sure that's a fit. But um, yeah, I mean, I'm starting a program in January and I have a group program that works. I work with coaches, hypnotists, and hypnotherapists all over the world. Whether it's, I have some in Australia, Ireland, the UK. So yeah, hop on a call with me. I know there's other programs out there, but what I've done is taken my program and really worked hard at being a business coaching or a coaching and mentoring program.
Perfect. Alex Paulino just asked where to get your book. So I'm just reminding all of you, you can find it at Karen, Caryn, Bird.com. It's free, so you can just hop over there. And we're getting down to the last 8 minutes. So I want to make sure we continue hitting the questions. Noemi Kropp says, good morning, everyone. Thank you for this talk. I use the circle of power or success before starting a coaching session, and it's powerful. Awesome. That's such a great reminder for everybody. And if you don't know the circle of excellence, you can Google it and find out a lot about it. Camille Cami asks, hello, is there any advice on how someone can use the self-hypnosis to build strength and confidence in a new sport as an adult? I'm a beginner in the field of hypnosis. So what would you say about that, Karen?
I would say the adult is the same as the 8-year-old. And that is, okay, so we all know that you can Google how to do self-hypnosis. I have a proven technique I use with athletes that I actually used in hypnobirthing, and it's the zone technique. So whatever you choose for self-hypnosis, it's okay. There are so many different ways, right? Get your client to, first of all, I teach my clients self-hypnosis, and I hand them a piece of paper that goes through exactly how to do it. I tell them, doesn't have to be perfect, don't have to memorize it, yet here's an outline for you. So just like athletes and 8-year-olds and everyone in between, I will teach self-hypnosis, and then I'll use the circle of excellence, which again, you can find the circle of excellence anywhere. But for me, that circle of excellence then takes them and transforms them or places them into the future, because we all know future pacing is where it's at. I explain to them that the subconscious doesn't know the difference between future and present. What you see is your reality. And then under self-hypnosis, I teach them the visualization of what does it look like when they win? What does it look like when they're on the podium at a national tournament? And they get to see it. So it's about here's self-hypnosis, practice it daily, same time every day is best. This is how you step into your power, into your future. And it's like I said, it's same as adults with children, and they love it. It's like you're teaching them something. For us, it seems simple. And I always remind myself of this. It seems simple because I've taught it so many hundreds of thousands of times. Yet to them, it's this new way that changes their lives.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's awesome. Sue Lamberton, thank you for dropping that comment. She writes in capital letters, great info. Thanks for sharing your experience and knowledge. So it seems, Karen, like you're hitting all the perfect notes. So as we wrap up, we just have a few moments left. And since we've talked about self-hypnosis so much and how it's a real significant part of the program that you use, and you mentioned the zone. For those listeners now or during the replay that don't recognize that technique or know about it, I'm wondering if we can just wrap up with this final question, which is, what is the zone technique and how does it work?
All right. And here's what I'm going to do. I want you to experience the zone technique, because with my athletes, because we know they are so busy and they are so tired, and they always feel like they have lack of time, that they love the quickest and easiest way to do anything. And so the zone technique is really simple. So I'm going to have you guys practice. I'll explain it first and then I'll do it with you. And it literally just takes a few seconds. When you think of the zone technique, imagine your body in zones. Head is zone 5, shoulders zone 4, midsection zone 3, legs zone 2, feet zone 1. I explain it exactly like this to my athletes. I'm going to have you, as we go through this, take a deep breath and close your eyes. Don't do it quite yet. And as I count down from 5 to 1, relax that set of muscles in that zone. Now, it'll look something like this. And you'll think 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, down to your toes. Now, every time you practice self-hypnosis, it's easier to get into that state. It gets easier and easier. You start to learn how to go from a beta state to a theta state really quickly. I know this because I could do it between contractions when I was having a baby. And by the time I got to having the baby, I'd practiced enough that at the number 1, I was so relaxed, I was in an almost sleep state. Okay, so let's practice it real quick. Go ahead and you can do it sitting up. Just close your eyes. take a deep breath, belly breath, hold it for 3 seconds. As you exhale, say to yourself, relax. Relax your shoulders, sink into your body. And now relax zone 5, your face, your cheeks, your jaws. 4, your shoulders sink into your body, down your arms, your chest, your heart. 3, relax your midsection, down through your hips. Feel the heaviness, grounding, balancing. 2, relax your legs all the way down through your ankles. 1, your feet, tops of your feet, soles of your feet, your toes. Deeper and deeper. Feel the relaxation. Feel yourself sinking, body relaxed, mind relaxed. And when you're ready, slowly bring yourself back to the present moment, this time and place, opening your eyes, emerging, feeling balanced and wonderful in every way. That's it. And what I explain is that it takes me longer to verbalize it than it does for you to do it in your own mind. So it's just a simple, quick technique. Athletes love it.
Karen, I think everyone would love that and love you. Thank you so much for offering us something so experiential. I'll be honest with you, nobody's done that in any of the live streams. So thank you for initiating us into a whole new level of live streaming in the HypnoSummit group. And thank all of you, Facebook. You guys are awesome. Thank you for showing up the way you do every week, for adding your comments, for asking your questions. If you are live, I thank you for being here live. If you're watching the replay, just drop a comment, #replay, and any questions that you have. Karen and I are both in this group and will always be monitoring and answering everything. Karen, we're getting so many thank yous. Alex, Paulina, thank you for an amazing webinar. You are welcome. And Sue, what wonderful value in walking us through. Rhonda, yay, thank you. Florianne, absolutely invaluable. Loved it. Teresa, another wonderful experience. So, Karen, thank you for helping me create something so valuable this morning for all of us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. I always enjoy
You're
teaching and
welcome.
helping.
So this has been another awesome, they're still coming in. Anita, Teresa, Noemi, you are welcome. You are welcome. Rita, this is awesome. So much fun. I'm going to still be in the HypnoSummit group. Karen, maybe you'll drop in too. Thank you all for joining us. Next week, heads up, next week I have with me for our HypnoSummit and weekly live stream, Rob McNeely. If you don't know Rob McNeely, he's an Aussie, awesome hypnotherapist who, let me just remind you, personal friends and mentoring with Milton Erickson. It is going to be a webinar, a live stream that rocks the house. And it is at a different time because of the time change to Australia. We are doing it at 5 p.m. Eastern. So just remember that, although I'll be reminding you in the group. For now, Karen, hugs from the beach. Thank you so much for adding such value here. And for those of you who are continuing to send in your thanks, I appreciate you. Thank you for helping us create this environment. We're all in this together. So until next week, I'll see you on Facebook. Ciao.
Bye. Thanks, Michele.